So as a Warhammer fan, I mean, I started playing Warhammer, the RPG, back in the 80s. So and I've been painting figures for many, many, many years.
The Warhammer IP is very popular inside the studio and outside. So we've got a lot of people in the studio who love the game. They know all about the units, they know what to expect, so the feedback we're getting is really detailed, and they know what tactics they want to use from the tabletop and whether they work in our game, and if they didn't, we had to tweak the balancing.
What Warhammer adds is a huge amount more variety. So on the battlefield, you get everything from tiny little goblin guys all the way up to huge giants. You get weird and wonderful war machines, and the other extra dimension is magic, and it adds the differences between the different factions, the different races in Warhammer.
And we decided to actually go with that and embrace that difference between all of the races. So you'll finish a game playing as the Empire, you'll start a new game as the Vampire Counts, and you'll find yourself with a totally different feature set that you're playing with, and that really influences the way the game plays out.
The unit balancing in Total War games has always been a pretty big challenge because there are so many different factors to take into account. Now we've added so many different things, we've expanded the game in every possible direction and dimension. Warhammer for us is really known for crazy units, crazy rules, crazy abilities.
Obviously for the AI, that causes us a whole new set of problems that we have to think about, because if the player uses that unit differently, the AI is going to have to use it differently. So we had to teach the AI, well, how do I use this unit against this unit? And we've got a system which we call the BCOP, which is the Battle Combat Outcome Prediction. And what that does is it actually has to model our own game in a kind of slightly cut down way. So it can say, if I've got this unit of spearmen, but they have had this magic cast on them and they are stood on a hill, how would they fare against this unit of trolls? It has to go through and it has to try and run a cut down simulation of our game to try and work out that. So the AI can sort of say, well, is this a good thing for me to be doing? And it would say yes or no, and it can get that answer back. And that's how we kind of solve that problem.
When it comes to flying creatures, we had some special challenges, obviously. Never done that in a Total War game before. It felt a bit like flying creatures are cheating, because you can attack any unit anywhere on the battlefield. So one thing we decided on early on is that when a flying unit does commit to land battle, we want it to be stuck there for a while. We don't want it to charge down, deal damage, and get out again. We want the defender to have a chance to do something against it. What we now say is that the flying unit can't just take off. You can imagine it like a dragon needs a bit of space to flap its wings and to take off. So as long as it's in combat, it can't do that, which gives the defender the chance just stay in combat, pin it down, and now suddenly using flying units becomes really risky.
We had these like comedy problems where you'd have this huge giant, but every man is targeting this position exactly in his chest. And although there's inaccuracy applied, you basically get these poor giants with like 1,000 arrows all fired into their chest. So there's little things like that you just didn't even think about. They're like, oh, we're going to have to rethink the way that works.
So I think the biggest challenge is to get one combat engine where all of this madness is accounted for and works without too many special cases.
So there's something like 15 army books, the main rule book, there's a massive amount of lore.
Because all this craziness might just be like one line in a rule book somewhere. And for us, that one line could be weeks or months of work.
There's so much there that there's infinite opportunity to find storytelling opportunities, link that into features within the game, come up with new features and so on. So it's actually been anything but a straitjacket.
We'd always wanted, right from the start, from the very first Total War game, we'd always wanted to do a fantasy Total War. Warhammer was the obvious match. We talked to Games Workshop over the years since the beginning of Total War, and eventually we decided to go ahead and pick Warhammer. It's just perfect.